Thanks for coming to my micro drawings channel. In honor of Independence Day, I thought I would draw Snoopy with a flag. So I'm starting off with a quarter, a pencil, Q-tip, and the pen I use as reference. So there you can see the tip of the pen. That's a Copic multiliner 0.03. A lot of times I start with the facial features of the characters I'm drawing. In this case, I'm going with the rounded ear part of Snoopy. And this time I had about 4 or 5 starts that I threw away. So just some of the process you don't see. I just couldn't get his nose right. I kept making it a little too thin or a little too squared. So finally on this time I was happy with it. So I kept it and moved on. So there I put in his face, put his eye and his nose, putting his smile in there. And then just working from top to bottom. Thanks again for coming to the channel, and hope you're having a happy 4th of July if you're in the U.S. celebrating that. So there's Snoopy's back. There I'm working down the front, and he's going to be carrying the flag staff, so I'm getting his arm in there and his hands, and then you'll see just a couple fingers of his left hand or left paw that's holding onto the flag staff, so kind of tough to see, but his fingers are tucked in there. They're wrapped around the flag staff. Then coming down his belly, and there's his foot in the walking motion, so it's kind of off the ground, up in the air. And in this case, that foot is covering his little tail, so you won't see a tail on this one. And there his other foot is taking that step forward. There I'm just putting a little line for the ground that he's walking on. There's the flag staff going through his hands. And then I'll continue it on the top of his head, extending back behind him, and putting on the tip of his flag staff right now. And then unfortunately with such small size, it ends up I just can't get those 50 stars in there. So I put the spots in. You'll see a little bit later here with the blue marker, but it's just tough. So tried to give an illusion of a couple white specks in there, but it just bleeds too much on me. And the same thing with the stripes too. I don't have all 13 of them representing the 13 original colonies. I can't remember what I ended up with. I think it was maybe 9. So I apologize for the inaccuracy there, but hopefully overall the picture looks okay. Just kind of run into some challenges with doing the micro drawings. So there I'm adding the stripes. And towards the bottom here, I didn't do a good job of laying it out initially, so I have to add on a little bit there for a stripe. And then once I start coloring, I realized that I didn't have enough, it didn't have a odd number to have the red stripe at the top and at the bottom. So at any rate, there's a Q-tip for reference again, pencil tip, you can see it covers them up. And then of course the quarter. I'm guessing I could fit 5 or 6 little Snoopies with a flag in that quarter. So there's the pencil. I'm reaching for my Copic sketch markers off to the side. They've got two sides. One's a fine tip. That's the side that I end up using because I can use that fine flexible point and push up to the black lines from the Copic sketch, or from the Copic multiliner. In this case I have a blue. I'm trying to leave the illusion of stars a little bit, but honestly it was a little tough, so I just had to do what you see there. Then reaching for a red, and that was tough too because these lines are pretty thin, the stripes on the flag. I ended up being pretty happy with how it turned out, but when you're working on it and it bleeds through a little bit, and in other videos I've shared that you can use a colorless blender to erase it a little bit. It dissolves the color. In this case, those lines are so close together on the stripes, so I ended up leaving it as is. right around here, I realized that I needed another line at the bottom of the flag. So reaching back for that Copic multi-liner, adding another line in there so I could have the red at the bottom at least. Again, I didn't get all the 13 stripes, but hopefully the picture still looks all right. So I rotate the paper sometimes so I can just lightly touch that sketch marker tip to the paper. It bleeds through, so I got to account for that. There I'm touching the ends just a little bit. I hadn't got all the way to the end. And there we go. So just letting you take a look at it there. Then I'm putting on the date, July 4th, of course, of 2020. If you haven't, please consider subscribing to the channel. You'll get updates. I draw other things other than Snoopy or Charlie Brown characters. I also draw some Calvin and Hobbes, a little bit of Far Side, Hello Kitty even, Fortnite. So Q-tip for reference, pencil for reference, quarter for reference. And there we go. Easily covers it up. Thanks again. I appreciate you watching.